Hello guys! Unfortunately, every major political event is always accompanied by various versions of different weak politicians about the appeasement of Russia and potential negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. What these leaders do not take into account is the reality, which was actually very well described in today's address of President Zelensky during the UN General Assembly in New York. You know, I live in a democratic country, and I can honestly tell you we do not always agree with everything our politicians say. But today's speech of Zelensky definitely reflects my personal vision of the future victory and peace and the opinion of the vast majority of Ukrainians. Moreover, you have to take into account that Russia is also not ready to negotiate or accept international rules and follow them. And that is why every Ukrainian wants justice. And fortunately or unfortunately, there are no alternative versions for justice. So let's discuss the UN speech of President Zelensky and Russia's answer to the potential negotiations with Ukraine. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and I'm very proud to be Ukrainian, even in these very dark and difficult times. Subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with my country and to see Russia defeated and Putin imprisoned, because only this will demonstrate that justice is still possible on this planet and that democratic countries, democratic order can survive. Because at this moment, I have a very bad feeling that democracies are desperately looking for the ways to coexist on this planet with authoritarian regimes, and authoritarian regimes unite to demolish democracies from the face of the earth. Today, President Zelensky addressed millions of people on the General Assembly of the United Nations, one of these international organizations that is supposed to protect peace on the planet. And one of the organizations that was and still is continuously humiliated by Putin and his criminal government. There are hundreds of documents and agreements that Putin violated, including international criminal court orders, including the Charter of Human Rights of the United Nations, and many, many more. In his address, President Zelensky described what is a real peace formula and when peace is possible in our part of the world, but actually globally. Because believe me, Russia is responsible for lots of wars and conflicts that you may not connect with it. And very likely some form of hybrid war is led in your country. And they spoil your economics, politics, culture, or mood. So, if I have to describe the most important parts of this speech, I would definitely focus on this global threat that Russian war imposes, starting with the danger of nuclear escalation. And just these threats should have been the reason to punish and simply defeat completely Russia and completely demilitarize it, including its denuclearization, if it's the correct verb, or we should invent one. Because at this moment, it definitely acts as a country that terrorizes the world. Not only they constantly use this language to frighten people, frighten governments, and try to demonstrate that a big country with nuclear potential can kill, loot, rape, and do whatever it wants. Believe me, China, Iran are watching. Subscribe to see all of the authoritarian regimes collapse, and please share the videos on your social media platforms. The world needs to know the truth. The world needs to see their reality and not hide from it. Unfortunately, you cannot hide from reality. Only Putin does so in his bunkers and in his parallel vision of the world order. Our task is to stop that and to punish that, because unpunished evil grows. Right now, there are intelligence results proving that Russia may prepare attacks on Ukrainian nuclear power plants. 3 of them were not named, but there is such information. This is one of the ways to cause serious troubles with the electricity, like losing 80% of Ukrainian electricity in winter. And also for the ecology, for the survival of people. And Russia can put on a mask that, no, we were not responsible for that, even when all of you know that for years they took a Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as a hostage and now do not let its proper maintenance. For a nation like Ukraine that suffered greatly because of Soviet negligence and decision to hide the truth about the Chernobyl disaster, this is not just traumatic, it multiplies our bad experience. So definitely this need to guarantee security, to protect Ukraine and other nations from any potential nuclear incidents is #1 task. And we're doing everything we can. I actually think that we do more than we can because we realize for Ukraine it's an existential fight. But unfortunately, very likely, it is an existential fight for many other democratic countries. And it's quite symbolic that Zelensky had to provide these facts during this assembly of the United Nations, an organization that was created to guarantee this kind of security and peace. I'm also glad that Zelensky mentioned these appeasement policies provided by the leaders of China and Brazil, which go against any logic, against standards of justice and legislation, because a country that killed thousands of innocents, stole thousands of children, and actually committed lots of acts that can be equated to genocide cannot be left with prizes of like Ukrainian territories, lifted sanctions, and Putin cannot return to the table of G8. Let me know in the comments below, can you imagine this reset of relations with Russia if it is not defeated and if Putin remains its president? Because for me, it's extremely painful and very offensive as a Ukrainian. And you know that I avoid political comments if they are not about Ukraine, but there is one thing that I want to say. Zelensky is not a salesperson. And I wish no president and I wish no citizen to go through what every Ukrainian goes through every day. And not because we did something bad, but because Russia is a criminal country that wiped its feet on all of the developed by the democratic world, by your governments, by your people, agreements and laws. How come people do not get offended by these actions of Putin's? And it's insane how some weak politicians think they will make a call and Putin will do whatever he wants. Putin treats the United States, lots of countries of the European Union as enemies. And no matter who is the president, the prime minister of these countries, you are enemies for Russia, same as I am their enemy. Do you know why? Because we are too free, because we were too happy, because we were developing and not agonizing in the thoughts of the past. So we cannot forgive this imperial attitude, this division of the world into the zones of influence. I'm sure many of you remember the mistakes of the 20th century made by your countries. And we cannot allow this to happen in the 21st century online when so many people saw war crimes of Russia. No, they are evil. No, they came to destroy people of my country, language of my country, schools of my country, and pretend there is an alternative. There is no alternative to justice. I feel like it can be a quote, honestly. Please share these videos on your social media platforms and subscribe. Ukraine needs a good team of people who understand The world is in danger, and not because you keep helping us and we are keep fighting with Russia, but because Russia is the problem. Russia is the problem. The total military defeat of Russia is the solution, is the only way to achieve sustainable peace. Because honestly, there is no such a thing, I'm Ukrainian, as hybrid, hybrid war. There is no hybrid peace. You cannot appease a war criminal, a dictator who is at power in the country for almost 30 years. You cannot appease a person that is responsible for the deaths of thousands of people, including people of the Russian Federation. You cannot appease this person, put on pause the war in which he thinks he succeeded, if actually after so many war crimes he is still treated as a person, as a politician, as the one who can participate in the negotiations. Isn't that the victory for him, and not on the battlefield, but in the minds of weak politicians? And if such logic continues, so after this pause, why should he stop? Why should he not continue? If war is something that fuels Putin's economy, if war is something that makes his regime more stable, he has arguments for the population why they don't need elections, why they don't need any changes, why he can control everything they do. Guys, Putin does not want peace, even for the sake of some Ukrainian territories. That's insane to think it works like that. He will simply accept what you are giving him and he will continue. Any hybrid peace is just another term to describe hybrid war. Look at 2014. I will not quote Zelensky about the Nobel Prize winner who actually inspired this appeasement in 2014, absence of Ukrainian response, and this led to the invasion in 2022. Everyone in Ukraine thinks so, and honestly, everyone in Ukraine knows that. And now Russia. Russia does not want peace according to the international laws and agreements which it violated. Russia wants to continue violating it, not just in Ukraine, and also causing troubles and chaos in your countries, ruining your banking systems, doing hacker attacks to some important systems, killing citizens on your territories with poison. This is what they do. And they will not accept, what are the instruments? Honestly, I do not understand all of these ideas. Like when you freeze the conflict or you give Russia some Ukrainian territories and you think this will lead to what? And you do not accept Ukraine to NATO, you will give her as something that maybe, guys, this is nothing. This is just a red signal of democracy losing and a green light for authoritarian regimes to continue. And not just here in Ukraine. Trust me, I know how it works. I was the one who believed that the full-scale war in the center of Europe in the 21st century without any reason. No, it's not about resources. It's not about money. It is the war between the democratic world and the authoritarian world. Decide on which side you are. There is no neutral zone, unfortunately or fortunately. So if I had to sum up all of this words, and I'm sorry for my emotions, but it can be painful when you are literally under threat every day, when you witness deaths of your countrymen, when you see the tragedies of families, when you realize how many buildings, forests burned and destroyed, you still have to persuade people that Putin is bad and that he has to be very, very, very severely punished for that. Punished is a too weak verb, but YouTube is too sensitive. So if I had to sum all of my emotions in just one sentence, I'd say there is no alternative to justice. Stop looking for it. Help Ukraine defeat Russia and return back to 1991 borders. Please join me on Instagram, X, Threads, and Discord. I share more of my thoughts there and share the videos on your social media platforms. We have a good merch shop with lots of items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and you can find all the links in the description of this video. Thank you so much for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. And most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!